Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we have a really amazing story to share. It's about how sometimes the smallest things can change everything, even in very dangerous situations. Our story starts on a hot, sunny Tuesday morning in the country of Burkina Faso in West Africa. Imagine a place with reddish-brown dirt roads, lots of dry grass, and scattered trees under a big blue sky. The president of Burkina Faso, a man named Ibrahim Traore, was traveling that day. He wasn't going for a big parade or anything fancy. He was heading to a small army camp way out in the east, near a place called the Tapoa region. There had been some scary reports about bad guys, maybe rebels, hiding out there. So President Traore wanted to visit his soldiers quietly, to check on things and show his support. He didn't bring a huge group of cars or guards. Just two tough jeep vehicles, a few soldiers he trusted completely, and a quiet escort car. They wanted to be quick, quiet, and not draw any attention. Their trip was supposed to be simple, off the radar. They had just left a small village near the town of Fadangorma. The jeeps were bumping slowly along a narrow dirt road. Trees and tall, dry grass lined the path. Everything seemed normal, dusty, and quiet. But then, something really strange happened. Right there, standing perfectly still in the very middle of the road, was a donkey. Just a single, ordinary-looking donkey. It wasn't eating. It wasn't swishing its tail. It wasn't even looking around. It was just standing there, like a statue. The soldier driving the first jeep tapped the horn. Beep! The donkey didn't even twitch its ears. He tried again, longer this time. Beep! Still nothing. The donkey just stood, blocking their way. "Should I try to drive around it, sir?" the driver asked President Traore. President Traore looked ahead. He was usually very calm. "Wait," he said softly. "Let's just see what happens." One of the bodyguards, a strong soldier, hopped out of the jeep. He thought maybe he could shoo the donkey away. He started clapping his hands loudly and waving his arms. "Hey, get out of the road!" he probably shouted. The donkey looked right at the soldier. It blinked its big dark eyes slowly, and it stayed exactly where it was. Then, the donkey did something even weirder. As the soldier got a little closer, the donkey suddenly lifted its head and let out a loud hee-haw sound. Then, it quickly turned around in a small circle, right there on the spot, and then, it sat down, like a dog told to sit. It just plopped its backside down in the middle of the dusty road. Everyone in the jeeps was scratching their heads. "What's wrong with that donkey?" one soldier muttered. "It's just being a stubborn animal," said another. But President Traore wasn't laughing. His face had become very serious. He leaned forward, his eyes glued to the sitting donkey. He felt something wasn't right. It was too strange. "Get the little flying camera up," he ordered quietly, talking about a small drone they carried for checking things out. "Put the drone in the air right now, something feels wrong here." So the soldiers quickly got the small scout drone ready. Within 5 minutes it was buzzing quietly up into the warm Burkina Faso sky. It flew high above the stopped jeeps. The drone operator watched the screen. At first, everything looked normal, just the empty dirt road ahead, the trees, the dry bushes swaying a little in the breeze. The drone kept flying forward, down the road, past the spot where the strange donkey sat. It flew about 300 meters. That's like 3 soccer fields put together. And then, the picture on the screen changed. Hidden in a small open space, just around a bend in the road, were 3 men. They were lying flat on their stomachs in the tall grass, partly hidden by some dry palm leaves. Each man had a scarf covering his face, and each man was holding a big gun, like the kind soldiers use. Their guns were pointed right at the road, exactly where the president's jeeps would have driven if the donkey hadn't stopped them. Behind the men, tucked away under the trees, was a motorbike. It had bags tied to it. Maybe extra bullets, or bombs, or radios. These guys were ready for a fight. They were hiding, waiting. The drone operator couldn't believe his eyes. "Sir," he said quickly to President Traore, showing him the screen. "Look at this. We have people hiding up ahead. This is an ambush. They were waiting for us." President Traore looked calmly at the screen, showing the hidden gunmen. Then he looked back down the road at the donkey, still sitting there peacefully. "They were waiting for us to come around that corner," he said, his voice low and steady. If we had just driven past that donkey. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone knew what would have happened. It would have been terrible. Immediately, the soldiers knew what to do. They were trained for danger. One jeep carefully backed up, hiding itself amongst the trees off the road. The other jeep turned off its engine, becoming silent. The commander of the soldiers asked President Traore, "Sir, should we attack them?" But President Traore shook his head. "No," he replied. "Not yet. Let's wait. Let them wonder why we haven't arrived. Let them get nervous." So they waited. For about 20 minutes, the president's convoy stayed hidden and silent. High above, the little drone kept circling quietly, like a secret eye in the sky, watching every move the hidden men made. Down in their hiding spot, the ambushers started to get fidgety. They were expecting the jeeps to appear any second. Why were they so late? Then, something else happened that proved this wasn't just some random attack. One of the hidden men stood up a little and pulled out a radio. The drone was close enough to pick up what he said. He spoke in French, a language often used by trained soldiers or people from other countries. "The cars should have passed by now," the man whispered into the radio, sounding worried. "Where are they? Something is wrong." Another voice answered back over the radio, also in French. "If they don't show up in 5 minutes, leave. Get out of there. We're too exposed." President Traore heard this through the drone operator's headset. He turned to his men. "Did you hear that?" he asked. They spoke French. "These aren't just local rebels acting alone. They are trained. And they weren't here just to scare us. They came here to kill." But their deadly trap had failed. And why? Not because of amazing army skills. Not because of super-secret spy gadgets. Not even because of pure luck. It failed because of one stubborn, strange donkey that decided to sit down in the middle of the road. One of the young soldiers looked towards the donkey again, whispering, "Wow, what are the chances of that?" Another older soldier nearby shook his head. "Maybe it's not chance," he murmured. "Maybe it's a sign." The drone kept watching the ambush spot. The 3 armed men were clearly nervous now. One kicked at the dirt. Another paced back and forth, looking down the empty road. The third guy kept fiddling with his radio. Finally, after waiting about 23 minutes in total, they gave up. One man waved his hand, and the team started packing their things very quickly. They moved like expert soldiers, fast, organized, not panicked. And just like that, they slipped away, disappearing into the thick bushes and trees. Gone. President Traore waited another 5 minutes, just to be sure. Then he gave the signal. "Okay, let's move up to where they were hiding," he told his soldiers. "But be very careful. What they left behind might tell us more than they ever could." The president's soldiers moved forward slowly and carefully toward the spot where the ambushers had been hiding. When they got there, the men were gone, of course. But they had left clues behind. There were footprints in the dirt showing where they had been lying down. Some small twigs were broken. They found a little hole dug behind a tree, probably where one man was positioned. And then, they found something really dangerous. Hidden under some fresh leaves was a thin wire, a tripwire. It was connected to a small bomb, an explosive device, buried in the dirt. It was placed exactly where the last jeep in the president's convoy would have driven over it. Boom! The trap was designed to attack from the front and the back. It was a very carefully planned, deadly setup. But the biggest surprise was still hidden. Buried nearby, inside a plastic box to keep it dry, the soldiers found a special piece of electronic gear, like a small, powerful modem that could send signals far, far away using satellites. Inside this box was a SIM card, the little chip that goes inside phones. The SIM card was from a neighboring country, Côte d'Ivoire, and written on the outside of the plastic box, in faded ink, were 2 letters, RF. One soldier saw it and whispered, "RF? Does that mean République Française? The French Republic?" Another soldier shook his head. "Regular rebels don't use satellite modems like this, and they don't usually write initials like that." The captain in charge looked gravely at President Traore. "Sir," he said, "this wasn't just a local rebel attack. This looks like it was planned by people with foreign training, maybe even led by foreigners." President Traore looked at the ground, at the footprints, the hidden bomb, the strange modem. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "the earth tells us the truth, even when people try to hide it with lies." Back where the jeeps had first stopped, the donkey was still there. It had finally stood up. A soldier gently tried to lead it off the road, The donkey took a few steps, then seemed to sigh and lay down again under a shady tree, calm and relaxed, as if its job was done. One of the younger soldiers looked at the animal in wonder. "Maybe the land itself sent him to warn us," he muttered. The president and his team didn't continue on the same road. They chose a different, safer path to reach the army outpost. But the story was far from over. That satellite modem and SIM card found at the ambush site? They were like keys, ready to unlock a secret trail that led much further than the dusty roads of Burkina Faso. Back in the capital city, Ouagadougou, the modem and SIM card were rushed to a secret building where experts work on computers and codes. These experts carefully looked at the data stored inside the modem. It didn't take them long to find something important. The modem had sent out only 3 signals. Each signal had bounced off a satellite high above Europe, and then down to a private computer server located in Lyon, a big city in France. And the SIM card? It was registered to a company name linked to a charity group in Côte d'Ivoire. This group claimed to be doing research on farming. But when investigators checked, they found the charity group didn't really exist. It had no office, no workers, no projects. It was a ghost company, a fake. And who owned this fake company? A man named Julien Morel. He used to be a French army officer working in the nearby country of Niger. Now he called himself a security consultant for a big energy company that worked in the region. President Traore sat quietly in a meeting room with his top intelligence officers. No reporters, no cameras, just the facts laid out on the table. He looked at the report, the satellite signals to France, the fake charity, the connection to the former French officer. "This ambush," he said to the room, "it wasn't meant to send a message or scare us. It was designed to make me disappear. Quietly. No witnesses, no proof, just another unfortunate accident, out in the remote countryside." He paused, then added, "But they didn't plan on one thing." He looked around the room. They didn't count on a donkey. The room was silent. An officer finally asked, "Sir, should we tell the world about this? Release the information to the news?" President Traore thought for a moment. "Not yet," he decided. "Let the people talk first. Rumors are already spreading that something happened. Let them share the story. Let them feel it. When the truth comes up from the people themselves, it's much more powerful than any official announcement." And the people did start talking. Whispers turned into news reports, then into social media buzz. "Did you hear? The president's trip was stopped. A donkey blocked the road just before an ambush spot. They found foreign equipment." Soon, hashtags started appearing online, like hashtag Donkey the Hero, hashtag Who'sn't the Killers, hashtag Traore Protected. Meanwhile, in offices far away, in Paris, France, and Abidjan, the capital of Côte d'Ivoire, powerful people were getting nervous. They saw the news, they saw the pictures of President Traore safe, sometimes shown near the donkey. They knew their secret plan had failed, and worse, it had failed in a way that made them look clumsy, stopped by an animal. Someone in a meeting in Paris reportedly said, "He's making us look like fools, and he hasn't even accused us directly." Another replied, "It's worse than that. He's letting the people believe in symbols again. The donkey is becoming a symbol of protection, of the land itself fighting back. We're losing control of the story." Then came the phone calls. First, a quiet warning message sent through secret channels from a French official to the intelligence service in Côte d'Ivoire, basically saying, "Tell Burkina Faso to drop this investigation quietly. It involves one of our former guys, don't make a fuss." Then, the president of Côte d'Ivoire himself, Alassane Ouattara, called President Traore directly. He tried to sound friendly and concerned. "My brother," he began, "I heard about the incident. I'm so glad you are safe. But listen, as a friend, the names involved here are sensitive. Maybe it's best to just let this go. You survived, that's the important thing. No need to cause more trouble." There was a long silence on the line. Then President Traore answered, his voice calm but firm. "You are right, Mr. President. I survived. But do you know what stopped the bomb, what blocked the path?" Another pause. "It was a donkey. Not spies, not weapons, not technology. A simple animal from our land saw through their plan." He continued, "So tell your partners this. If a donkey can see them hiding in the bushes, what do you think our people are seeing now?" Then, politely but clearly, he ended the call. He didn't shout, he didn't accuse loudly, but his message was a powerful warning. Later that night, President Traore didn't hold a big press conference. Instead, he gave his team a very short video clip. "Put this online," he said. "No fancy editing, no loud music, just the truth." The video was simple. It showed the donkey calmly standing, then sitting, on the dirt road. Then it showed footage of the hidden bomb being carefully uncovered by the soldiers. At the end, just simple words appeared on the screen. They planned the trap. But the land warned us first. That little video exploded across West Africa. People shared it everywhere. In Mali, they played it with traditional music. In Niger, street sellers started putting pictures of the donkey on keychains. In Ghana, a poet wrote lines about how, when the donkey stands, the wise man stops. Back in Burkina Faso, people weren't scared. They were proud, and they were angry that someone had tried to harm their leader. At a youth rally, a girl stood up and shouted, "Why do they always try to stop Africa's progress?" Another young man yelled back, "Because this time, they know they can't control our future." The story of the donkey spread like a legend. Elders in villages told it like an old folktale. The ancestors are watching over us. Even the animals can see the hidden dangers. A week after the incident, President Traore did something quiet but powerful. He didn't make a big speech blaming anyone directly. Instead, he went back to that same dusty road. There weren't crowds, just a few guards and one camera. And there, under a tree, was the donkey. President Traore walked up to it slowly. He gently placed his hand on the donkey's head. He might have whispered something like, "Thank you, friend. You were braver than many men." Then he took a thin strip of red cloth, a color often used as a symbol of revolution and strength in Africa, and gently tied it around the donkey's neck. It was a small gesture, but everyone understood what it meant. He was honoring the silent protector. Later, he released one more video message. Sitting simply, not in uniform, he spoke to his people. "They send spies. They send money to bribe people. They send killers dressed as friends," he said. "But our land, our Africa, sends us warnings. The road tried to tell us something was wrong, and when we needed it most, the donkey stood still. This is the Africa they don't understand, an Africa that knows how to survive, an Africa that protects its own." He then announced a new program, Operation Kambu. Kambu means the one who blocks danger in a local language. This program would use local people, scouts, elders, animal trackers, who know how to read the signs of the land, the wind, the animals, things that foreign attackers might never notice. "Where nature stands guard," he said, "we will listen." And so the story of the donkey who stopped an ambush became more than just a strange event. It became a symbol of resilience, of listening to intuition, and of the quiet strength found in unexpected places. From that day on, army patrols in that part of Burkina Faso moved with a new kind of awareness, not just relying on weapons, but also respecting the silent warnings of the land itself. And somewhere, near that bend in the road, maybe a donkey with a faded red ribbon around its neck still watches, a quiet reminder that sometimes, the simplest creatures hold the deepest wisdom. What an incredible story, right? It really makes you think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.